Emotional Jeff Lehman announced that he will not seek a fourth term as mayor of Barrie.
I will not be seeking a fourth term as mayor of Barrie. You know, I said I wouldn't Roy Kent this. I told myself I would not Roy Kent this announcement. Being mayor has been the greatest honor of my life. It has not been without enormous challenges and costs. But I gotta tell you, I feel like I'm going out on a high note.
Lehman will be seeking nomination to run for MPP in Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte on the Liberal Party platform.
I'm here to announce, you might have guessed, that I will be seeking the nomination for the Ontario Liberal Party in the riding of Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte.
Lehman has been Barrie's mayor since 2010. He is likely to win the nomination to take on the current MPP and Attorney General Doug Downey of Progressive Conservatives. With this announcement, many candidates are expected to join Councillor Natalie Harris, who was first to throw her hat in the ring to seek the top government position in the city. Ontario Liberal leader Stephen Duca was also present at the press conference.
And I remember standing on a GO station platform in Barrie alongside Jeff. Now, even though I'd known Jeff before that point in time, to my recollection, it was the first time that we were together in public since I had been appointed to cabinet. And we were there, of course, to talk about a massive expansion of GO service for Barrie, GO service for the entire network. And I can still remember the words that Jeff used when he talked about his passion for Barrie, his passion for public service, his passion for public transit, his passion for building a city and a region and a province that was sustainable, that would be prosperous, but would also make sure that when we create that prosperity together, that it would be fairly and broadly shared. And you all here today, families right across Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte, you all know that Jeff brings a very unique set of talent.
Use the timestamps to navigate through the video.
Welcome everybody to State and Main. My name is Tanya Saari, and I have the honor and pleasure of introducing some guests for you today. I have been a resident of Barrie for 17 years, dabbled in a little bit of politics myself, and I'm very community involved and I pay attention to what's going on within our city. So our first speaker will be Mayor Jeff Lehman. I know you're anticipating him and you don't want me to do a lot of talking, but what I will say is that I've known Jeff as a mayor, but about 4 years ago I got to meet Jeff on a personal level when we did Dancing with the Stars for Easter Seals. Best Dancing with the Stars group Easter Seals have ever had, by the way. And he is what he seems to be. He is honest, he's got a ton of integrity, he's kind, he's jovial, he's everything you'd want in a friend and everything you would like out of the mayor of your city. So I know we're all anticipating what his big announcement is going to be today, so I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Jeff Lehman to tell us what he's up to.
Well, thank you all so much, first of all, for being here today. And I think it's important to acknowledge that this is an incredibly difficult day for the hundreds of thousands of Canadians of Ukrainian heritage. Watching what's going on in the world today, it is scary. And we all hope and pray for peace with what's going on and hope that sanity will prevail. But on this difficult day when there's other news, I do have some personal news to share, and so thank you all so much for being here to be part of this today. I wanted to tell you off the top about Walter. So Walter was a 19-year-old kid during the Great Depression who would cycle from his job at the Loblaws warehouse in downtown Toronto to the island airport where he was taking flying lessons. He had a dream to become a pilot. And he worked his tail off doing those flying lessons, and he succeeded. He got some experience flying during the war, and after the war had a career in civil aviation that ultimately led him to be chief pilot for Air Canada. And despite his very, very humble beginnings, he was able to create a great life for himself and for his family in Toronto, including his kids, the youngest of whom is my mom. So my grandfather, Walter, was a big Lester Pearson fan. He really liked Mike Pearson. He believed in Pearson's quiet determination to make change and to improve his country. And I would often talk with him about Mike Pearson. My grandfather spent his last years at Grove Park Home in Barrie, and we would talk about politics, especially once I ran for city council and got into the game, so to speak. And, you know, I think today, Walter wouldn't like too much what he's seeing out there. The shouting, the lies, the echo chambers, the gimmicks, some of the ugliness of politics in our country. He would be asking, you know, where are the sensible leaders? Where are the people who are focused on just getting things done, on building a stronger country, a stronger province, a stronger community? And I think today, more than at any point in our history, we need the politics of purpose. It's never been more apparent that we need principled and pragmatic leaders in our province. We live in difficult times, and we need leaders who are in it for the long term, beyond an electoral cycle, who are about making good decisions, good policy, and who can meet the complex challenges that are out there today. You know, I think healing our society and recovering from COVID is going to require leaders who aren't motivated by populism. Whether you're in Elmvale, or in the east end of Barrie, Hawkstone, or Lutetia Heights, what matters is your health, your job, your kids, your parents, your safety. You know, everybody in politics is there for a reason. Sometimes not the right reasons. And you know, the reasons, they define what they do and how they do it. And the reason has always been an easy question for me to answer. I'm in this because I want to have an impact. My primary motivation has always been about trying to make our community a better place. It's about getting things done. It's not about showing off or scoring points off the other guy. It's about getting things accomplished. In the past 10 years, we've added more than 13,000 jobs in Barrie. And for the first time, we grew the number of jobs faster than the population. We've attracted the 3 largest investments in the history of the downtown. We built a GO station, a theater, new bridges and roads, our first branch library, and we're about to open our second one. We throw 40% less garbage in the landfill than we did 10 years ago, and 71% less pollution into Lake Simcoe. We set records for transit ridership, and we made it free for kids and seniors. We helped build 3 new buildings and dozens of new programs for Georgian College, and almost 2,000 people in our city today are able to participate in recreation programs free of charge for low-income households. We've protected more land through environmental designations and smarter growth than ever before, and this I'm so proud of. For 4 years in the last 10, we've had the lowest crime index of any city in this country. We've done all of this while managing to deliver the lowest tax increases since the 90s and reducing the city's debt. And we did this without screaming, without scandals, without virtue signaling or gaslighting or gimmicks pandering to a political base. We just focused on improving our community. That's the kind of politics I think we need in the province. I'm really proud of that record of getting things done. And I believe that what I've learned and what I've accomplished means I can be part of building a stronger province. So I'm here to announce, you might have guessed, that I will be seeking the nomination for the Ontario Liberal Party in the riding of Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte. clear, I'm all in on this. So I'm also announcing I will not be seeking a fourth term as Mayor of Barrie. You know, I said I wouldn't Roy Kent this. I told myself I would not Roy Kent this announcement. Being mayor has been the greatest honor of my life. It has not been without enormous challenges and costs. But I gotta tell you, I feel like I'm going out on a high note. I believe I've helped set this community up for a brighter future. I've had the privilege to work with some incredible people at City Hall, on City Council, and within our organization. And I will be leaving the City of Barrie at a time when I have enormous confidence in our municipality. Time's come for me to see if I can make a contribution on a broader stage. And I could not even think of doing this without the support and energy of my incredible partner, Carolina, who loves this community and, like me, believes in the power of positive change. And although my brilliant and very funny child, Logan, has only ever known me to be the mayor of Barrie, they've been nothing but encouraging about this next step, which matters so much to me. And to have Anna, Era, and Nova at home brings me perspective and balance, and it reminds me constantly what matters in life. And I've had the enormous fortune in my whole life to have the support of my parents, Bob and Joan, who've been there for me at every step of the way in public life and have taught me about what's important in life. And we so badly need to focus on what's important at Queen's Park. I want to get things done. I want to help build the province the way strong communities are built, with compassion and commitment to all Ontarians. That starts right here in Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte, with our schools, with our hospital, with long-term care and badly needed childcare. It means focusing growth where it's appropriate, not sprawling across the countryside, and taking stronger steps to protect Lake Simcoe. And it means making a commitment to housing for all Ontarians, not just those who can afford the enormous down payments we need these days. Look, these are not easy times. The challenges that are facing us locally, provincially, and globally are daunting. I believe Ontario needs politicians that can mend fences and re-sod lawns. It needs durable politicians that can deal with complex problems, but at the same time, it needs politicians that can feel the hurt around them and give people hope. Stephen Del Duca is one of those politicians. He'll be an excellent premier, and I'd be honored to join this team. I want to work with him to return Ontario to the politics of common purpose. To be a Liberal has always meant being a Big Tent politician who can ignore the failed extremists on the left and the right and focus on delivering pragmatic and purposeful change. And that's why the Liberal Party will always be my party. We need that Big Tent back. We have more things in common than our social media would have us believe. We all want our kids to be safe, our seniors to age with dignity, to have a roof over our heads, and food on the table. We want peace, reason, and decency. It's time to build bridges and stop retaliatory politics. It's time to worry less about tribal allegiances and building taller fences, and remember that we are all more alike than they would have us believe. We're all mothers and fathers, children or grandparents, worried citizens, hopeful members of our community with dreams and aspirations. You know, trust is at the basis of the civic contract between leaders and the people that they serve. And when I ran for mayor, I said I would earn that trust every day I had the honor of serving this community. You earn it by acting in the best interest of those who you serve. So I brought this with me today. This was one of the special messages we put on our signs in the final week of the campaign in 2010 when I ran for mayor. And it's been important to me ever since. We must never, ever forget in public life that we serve all the people. I believe I've been the mayor, a mayor, for all the people of Barrie, and I've always been supportive of the needs of our region in Oro-Medonte and in Springwater. And now I want to represent you at Queen's Park. And this is the message. It's for all of us. Thank you.
everybody's so quiet. That was some exciting news. Everybody's sad. I think those of us in this room, and we're here because we support Jeff and what he does, and we believe in him fully. And I know I've had this conversation with him, and it's been a long time coming. I've been waiting for years to hear this announcement, so it's so exciting to be a part of it today. But now I have the honor of introducing our next guest. Stephen Duca has decided to join us today on this great occasion. Stephen has been a proud Liberal for more than 30 years and is the leader of the Ontario Liberal Party. As leader, Stephen has been focused on strengthening our democracy, improving education and healthcare, ending the housing crisis, fighting climate change, and building an economy that works for all of us. Throughout the pandemic, he has constantly offered strong, steady leadership, practical solutions, and tried repeatedly to bring all parties together. We've seen that a lot over the last 3 weeks, I think. A former cabinet minister, Stephen has the experience that will be needed to lead Ontario through the pandemic as well as economic recovery. Stephen leads a new and energetic team that reflects the people they hope to serve. Stephen Duca is the son of immigrants, a husband, and a loving father of 2 girls. On a personal note, I got to see Stephen speak at the OREA presentation 2 weeks ago. He did a phenomenal job, and I echo the comments of many people who were adding it in the chat. It would still via Zoom. Honest, transparent, and just a really great guy. So let's welcome Stephen Duca.
Well, good afternoon. I am so absolutely delighted, so excited, so energized, so motivated to continue to work as hard as I possibly can because of that phenomenal news that we all just heard from my good friend and the next Liberal MP for Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte, Jeff Lehman. Now, I will tell you a little story. And I don't know if Jeff remembers this, but I think back to a time in 2015. I can't believe that's been 7 years now. Almost 7 full years. I had been serving as Ontario's Minister of Transportation for only a few months at that point in time. And I remember standing on a GO station platform in Barrie alongside Jeff. Now, even though I'd known Jeff before that point in time, to my recollection, it was the first time that we were together in public since I had been appointed to cabinet. And we were there, of course, to talk about a massive expansion of GO service for Barrie, GO service for the entire network. And I can still remember the words that Jeff used when he talked about his passion for Barrie, his passion for public service, his passion for public transit, his passion for building a city and a region and a province that was sustainable, that would be prosperous, but would also make sure that when we create that prosperity together, that it would be fairly and broadly shared. And you all here today, families right across Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte, you all know that Jeff brings a very unique set of talent and experience and dedication. Someone who's in this for the right reasons. Someone who understands, as Tanya said, how to serve with integrity, how to keep people first, how to always work relentlessly hard, not to engage in the petty partisan politics that we don't need anymore, but instead to focus on progress, instead to focus on achievement, instead to focus on outcomes. Jeff is exactly the kind of champion that Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte, and all of Ontario needs at Queen's Park. Now, I don't want to put any extra pressure on Jeff or the rest of the Liberal family and supporters who are here today, but by my last count, I think we're 98 days until Election Day. 98 days. That means the campaign officially begins in about 70. And there is so much work that needs to be done. Yes, political work, campaign work. And I look at this audience today, and I see long-standing Liberals, some of whom I've known, well, frankly, since I had bangs. It's true. It's true. I did at one point, right, Ryan? I did. And so, yes, there's a ton of knocking on doors, making the calls, raising the money, putting up the signs when the time permits. That is all still to come. But think about the work that's required to make sure that we rebuild Ontario and recover as a province as we navigate the rest of this COVID-19 pandemic, as we think about a publicly funded school system, the kind of school system that my daughters go to. My older daughter's in grade 9, my younger daughter's in grade 5. When I think about schools here in Barrie, schools across this province, and what we've all had to go through over the past couple of years, it's not an abstract conversation for me. The challenges, the isolation, that whiplash effect of schools opening and closing that's being felt by so many of you has been felt in my own household. We think about the universal public health care system that we have that needs to be rebuilt, needs to be exceptional, and needs to be resilient so that we never find ourselves ever again in this province in the vulnerable state that we did at the outset of this pandemic. We need more nurses, we need more doctors, we need more nurse practitioners, and we need them to be working in communities large and small right across Ontario and right here in Barrie. You heard Jeff talk about it so eloquently today, and frankly so eloquently throughout his career. And you know his track record. You know that when he talks about sustainability, he knows what he's talking about. You know that when he talks about public transit, he has a keen sense for what needs to be done. When he talks about luring economic development to this city, to this region, and to our province, again, there is a proven track record of delivering. The housing crisis that we face, and Jeff is 100% right. It is all forms of housing that we need here in Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte, and across Ontario. For tenants, for people that want to purchase homes and have that capacity, for those that have mental health challenges or need other supports, need that true hand up, that help, we need to be there for each and every one of them. Think about childcare. Jeff touched upon this as well. It is impossible for me to believe that today we live in a province that is the only holdout in the entire country to get $10 a day licensed childcare delivered. That is on its face appalling. You know, in communities across Ontario, people are feeling a pinch. We see the cost of virtually everything going up. When you think for just a moment about what kind of savings you would see as a family if you had 1 or 2 or more children in $10 a day licensed childcare, which you will have under an Ontario Liberal government, you would save literally thousands of dollars each and every year. Real savings, while at the same time giving your kids, our kids, the very best start in life. When we hear Jeff talk about environmental sustainability, how communities facing unprecedented growth need to grow in a smart way, in a way that makes sense, in a way that's good for our health and for our quality of life, he is someone who doesn't just talk the talk. His entire career has been walking the walk for Barrie, and now, in about 98 days, because of how hard I know Jeff will work, his family will work, and let me just say thank you, Jeff, to your family for being with you and for being with us on this journey that I know you're about to undertake. I know it's not easy on families, but I'm grateful, Carolina, to you and Logan and to the rest of your family. In about 98 days, thanks to Jeff's hard work, his dedication, his track record, his family's support, and all of you who know how to get this job done, we will together make sure that Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte has a real champion at Queen's Park, someone who will represent you, someone who will fight for you, someone who's in this for the right reasons, and together we will get Ontario back on track. Thank you so very much for being here today. Jeff, come on back up. I think we're going to take some questions.
Yeah.
Jeff, how long have you been seriously considering this, and what was the actual turning point for you?
Well, I've been considering my future for several months. Had the opportunity, to get to know Stephen Del Duca and understand his vision for this province. Rob, the more time went on, the more I watched the decisions that were being made and not made, the more I was convinced we need to move in a different direction in the province. And I also felt that there's never a good time to leave. But we've accomplished so much this year as a council with the task forces on housing, on downtown and so on. And I believe I can make a broader contribution. And this election is going to be so important for the direction of Ontario. This is a choice. It's a choice between populism and pragmatism, a government about getting things done or not.
I think we could all hear you get emotional when you brought up the fact that you were stepping away from being mayor.
Yeah.
Just take a moment and, it's over a decade. I think it was 12 years, right? So
12
it's a
years.
long time, yeah.
Yeah.
It's prepared you for this, I assume.
Well, I think it has prepared me for this. It's been the greatest honor of my life, and I've often described being the mayor as one of the most unique and incredible jobs in politics. You wear your failures personally, but you get to see your successes, and you get to see them in the community around you. But over the last several years, of course, because I've been chairing Ontario's Big City Mayors Caucus, talking with the mayors of all of the large cities across this province, starting to understand the challenges facing our communities are very consistent. They're very much the same. The solutions may be different. They may have local needs. And that's why municipalities are so important. That's something Stephen understands. I'm not sure the current government does fully understand that. But I think as I've done the work as a chair of Ontario's Big City Mayors, I've started to see that some of the things that we've worked on here and we've worked on in the caucus, I can contribute to building a stronger province.
Jeff, have you checked off most of your boxes as mayor of the city of Barrie, or are there still things that are outstanding?
Yeah, it's never everything, Chris. And
But it's pretty good. The record's pretty good.
I would say it's pretty good. Look, when I ran, and it's been burned into my brain since the day I ran in 2010. I said there were three things I wanted to do. I wanted to create jobs, I wanted to grow smarter, and I wanted to open up City Hall. And I won't go into the record on all of those. I talked about some of it in my remarks. We've never grown the economy faster than the population of this city. We're becoming less of a bedroom community. I'm intensely proud of that. We have grown so much smarter in terms of intensification and the range of housing that we now offer to people in the city. And I really feel my commitment to transparency at City Hall. We walk the talk, town halls every month, pre-meetings on planning matters in the community. I just think you're never going to feel like you've done everything, especially in a job that throws something different at you every day. But I feel I've accomplished a lot and I'm ready for the next step.
Why Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte instead of Barrie and Civil?
Fair question. So I represented Ward 2, of course. My first job in public life was representing a part of Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte. I grew up there, built my business there. And right now I live literally right on the edge of the two ridings. But I will tell you, I think there are unique challenges faced by BSOM. I think there's a real question right now around the direction of growth, not only in the city of Barrie, in the north end of the city, but in Oro and in Springwater. And I think there's some very, very important things that need to happen at Queen's Park to protect our lake and to grow smart in our region. But I also look at the way those townships have grown in terms of the number of young families that have moved to them, the new subdivisions on the edges of Barrie and the growth in some of the communities like Elmville. There are so many more families calling that part of our province home, and they need childcare. They need smaller class sizes. They need a government that's committed to education and to families.
Your popularity at Barrie is clear in the last couple of elections. So focusing on the Springwater Oro-Medonte, what's the plan there? How do you plan to move that spot over?
Well, I want to get out and knock doors relentlessly. And I know right now, coming out of COVID, we got to be careful about how we do that. We will be careful how we do that. We'll reach out online. We'll reach out through other tools. But it's, when I ran for mayor, and even in the elections where maybe the contest wasn't as tight, in the elections for mayor, I constantly knock doors, and the reason is there is no substitute for meeting people at the door and talking to them about what's important. I would like to think in the role that I played on county council and in the role that Barrie has played as the regional center, I've come to know and work with leaders in the communities and the residents of many of those communities. But I don't pretend to know all the issues. That's what's exciting about elections. You get to go door to door, really understand them, and tell people what you believe is important.
So what happens with your position of mayor now, Jeff? When are you done?
Oh, thanks for asking that. It's my intention that once I am officially nominated as the candidate, I will take an unpaid leave of absence from the mayoralty. And that has been the process that members of Barrie City Council have done for decades. I feel it's important that I do that very soon once I am the nominated candidate. So I anticipate in a few weeks' time.
Okay, I was going to say, so when officially will that happen? Yeah.
There is a nomination process.
There is a process that will be undertaken, but sooner rather than later.
So within a month, you're saying?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
You're very active in the community. You've always been active, just to light it up a little bit. You've been very active. Your face is out there. How often will we see you drumming in the band?
No, I want people to vote for me. What does he think he is? You know what? That's one of the things that's kept me sane through public life. Honestly, is the band is being able to play music and play terrible loud rock and roll, and we raise money for charity. And so it's one of the toughest things in COVID is we haven't been able to play. And I will tell you, Mr. Leader, I may be seeking an hour or two here and there in which to do that, and maybe we can make it part of some of the campaign events. But
Maybe in caucus meetings at some point.
no, again, you want to keep people in the room, not send them somewhere.
That's when the meetings were done. So
Oh, okay.
you got people out.
It's like a drum roll.
Maybe so.
Maybe it's a quick hit. We'll figure that out. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm new to Canada, new immigrant. I'm much newer to Barrie from the last few months, and I've been watching a lot of council meetings, town hall meetings, and I see some of the residents. There is underlying anti-immigrant sentiments when it comes to, especially because of the housing crisis and the pandemic. So rest of your time as a mayor, and if you get elected to the Ontario, so how do you plan to deal with that? How do you plan to make sure that even on social media I see because of the this trucking so-called freedom I see a lot of vitriol against people, minority people, against LGBTQ community. So how do you plan to deal for the rest of your time as a mayor and as a representative in Ontario government?
Well, I'll answer that. I know Stephen will have strong thoughts on that too. First of all, zero tolerance ever for racism, for anti-LGBTQ sentiment. We have never tolerated it in Barrie. We've spoken out against it, and I will continue to do that. Whatever platform I ever have, I will use for that. On the specific question of housing, and I think it's a very good one because we live in a time with very troubling sentiments out there, and at the same time, a housing crisis which is disproportionately, in many cases, affecting new Canadians. I think one of the mistakes that's been made in Ontario in recent years was there wasn't a thoughtful plan to support new Canadians as they become residents of our province, and that includes housing policy. You need in government a perspective across departments, across policy. These issues are related, and I think there are unique needs of unique new Canadian communities. I've been delighted as mayor to watch the growth of new Canadian communities here in the city, and to try and adapt our own policies and approaches to support those communities. But specifically on the housing crisis, you need to tie these things together. We need to say, as new Canadians come in, that we are going to provide support to help you find housing, and we're going to consciously make sure we're building the housing that is needed for the people arriving so that they can succeed here in our country.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I would just add as well. Look, these have been a tough number of last few weeks. Seeing the illegal occupation in our nation's capital, in Ontario's second largest city of Ottawa. You think about that first Saturday, that first weekend when we saw horribly hateful symbols, the swastika, the Confederate flag, the desecration of the tomb of the unknown soldier. It is so important, as Jeff said just a second ago, for people in leadership positions to use the podium they have, to use the voice they have, to make it crystal clear that that's not the Ontario, or frankly the Canada that we believe in. You know, when Tanya introduced me today, she talked about me being the son of immigrants. It's true. A generation ago, my parents, like so many others, came from different parts of the world. And, you know, when I think about how important it is, as Jeff has said, for us to seek ways to unify, to come together, to recognize that far more unites us in this province than divides us, part of that is leadership that says that kind of behavior, divisive, hateful, racist, discriminatory, bigoted, it's not acceptable. So you have to stand up and say that. You have to be consistent. I have made a previous commitment that if elected June 2nd, we will once again reinstate a standalone ministry for the Anti-Racism Directorate, something that used to exist before in Ontario that the current government decided to get rid of. You can look at the curriculum we have in our publicly funded school system to make sure that we are using that system, which has always been the great leveler, the great equalizer here in Ontario, to actually make sure it's accomplishing its goals. So that's just two examples, but you have to call it out when you see it. You can't allow it to fester, and you can't allow people to ever believe that it's okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you all so much for being here.
I'll just talk us out. So just a couple of thank yous. I want to thank you to State and Maine for hosting us today. And thank you everybody for coming. I know that Jeff has campaigned many times over his political career, but Jeff, this is just a drop in the bucket that you have of supporters here today. And I know you feel the energy and people are excited, but know there are many more people out there in the area rooting for you and standing behind you. So I wish you nothing but the best of luck. I think I speak probably on behalf of the people in this room to say listening to both Jeff and Stephen speak today gives us a lot of hope, a lot of positivity, and a lot of encouragement as to what can happen with an Ontario government here, an Ontario Liberal government, both in Barrie, Springwater, Oro-Medonte, and the province itself. So thank you, Stephen, for joining us today. Thank you, Jeff, for sharing your time and giving us this amazing news today. We look forward to hearing more in the future, and best of luck to you. There are going to be some appetizers circulating, I believe, so just take a minute and mingle and breathe it all in for a few minutes. Thank you, everybody.